first of all, very good morning to everybody who chose to wake up a bit early and have this breakfast. Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here. Really, when you pose the questions, it looks like we're in really very difficult situation, you know, and myself as well, trying to answer at least some of them. So today we have one more Foreign Affairs Council, regular one, and there's a, you know, at least from my side, there's a growing frustration whenever I have to prepare for the FAC, looking through the notes of what I have to say, and understanding that my notes have not been changed for almost 1.5 years. If you scroll through the doorsteps that I've been giving every month, almost exactly, I'm sorry for the colleagues from the press who have to hear exactly the same words every month that I have to repeat. And I've been getting questions, so are you going to say something new this time? And unfortunately, I cannot. Therefore, if we would look into what will be said today, the expectations of today, they are exactly the same expectations as last month, and unfortunately, probably the month to come. And therefore, for me, going into the details of what needs to be adopted by the European Union, it's a bit of a waste of time. Because we have to admit that we are stuck. And we are stuck on so many crucial points, and being non-able to invent something new. That is, it goes beyond the point to, you know, to keep digging in. Can we adopt new sanctions that would be meaningful to stopping Russia? I don't think so. Can we adopt a European Peace Facility new package that would be actual help for Ukraine? I don't think so. And I could go on and on. And this provides the frustration. This is the main driver for frustration. The question that I pose to myself is then why we are there where we are. Why we cannot move ourselves out of this ditch of inability, of impotence, and in some cases self-appraisal, which I really don't like. Because, you know, there are those who would say, look, but as you said, sorry, but I mean, it's that we managed to do certain things that are good. Yeah, that's true. But it's not about the trying that counts. We have to get somewhere with the work that we're doing. We have to make certain achievement, not by trying, but actually by getting there. And the thing that needs to be done is Ukraine winning the war. This is what we need to get to. And if we cannot, there is no need for self-appraisal, since we're not there yet. What we did, yeah, we did some things, but I still have measures because we're not there yet. So the question mainly is, how come we don't see a crisis that it's not a crisis in Ukraine, but it's a European crisis as an existential one? Why we fail to see that as existential crisis? If you would ever hear a Baltic representative or Eastern flank representative, in many cases a Nordic representative, people would tell you that this is existential, that Russia will actually not stop. And the war that is currently taking place in Ukraine will very soon be a war that will be taking place in European proper union. And why it is not shared, why it is not understood. And I devised a couple of reasons. First one is that we're afraid to admit, because then, you know, we might be forced to action, that we don't have a social contract, that we don't have a political contract between the, you know, coalitions and parties within our national political systems, or we don't understand. And to go even further, why the discussion today in FAC will be quite a calm one. You know, people will just state their minds, as they did a month ago, and we'll move on. We'll listen to Dmytro Kuleba, and we'll move on. It won't be existential. And I believe that there are, again, two underlying reasons. One is that there are people who believe that Russia can be exhausted. And it is possibly true Russia can be exhausted, but not with the means that we're providing to Ukraine. That means that Russia can lose. It has lost in the past. It can get tired. It can be overwhelmed. But the resources that we provide to Ukraine have to be substantially different, substantially greater. If we're looking for an answer as to how much, I think that the best where I would look was an excellent op-ed written by former Chief of Defense of Ukraine, General Zaluzhny, last year, November, in The Economist, where he stated what is needed. Not just the ammunition, but different type of equipment. Different type of equipment that would be used and possibly could be used to overwhelm and stop Russia in its tracks. The next underlying idea is that Russia can be appeased. That if we would send messages that it's not NATO's war, that we're not escalating, that on every point that we're making, we're drawing red lines to ourselves, that Russia would take that as a message of goodwill, as silly as it sounds, and it will stop, just because it does not want to wage war against, deeper into Ukraine or against the West. And honestly, if I partially agree with the first one, but it requires way greater commitment than we currently have, I completely do not agree with the second one. And the problem is that since the second one provides the driver for the second one, meaning that first of all it comes the appeasement idea that prohibits us supporting Ukraine to the level that is needed, then we cannot work out the second one. Since there are people who want to appease Russia, we cannot exhaust Russia. And therefore we won't have both. We won't appease it, and we won't exhaust it. And therefore the war is existential. And I've mentioned that for a couple of times. I mean, we really have to take it in as to what Ukraine is fighting against. For me, the most striking thing is the front line. 2,000 kilometers of front line that Ukraine has to defend. It's a front line that would drag from Vilnius to London or to Paris, which is easier, not crossing the channel. But it gives you an idea as to how much have they to defend. And now our hope lies currently is that they're able to build fortifications in the fields, in endless fields of 2,000 kilometers that Russians would not break through with the equipment that we're giving them. And honestly, they are doing everything they can. I visited Kharkiv, many of you I'm sure did as well, other cities maybe in Ukraine. The resilience is amazing. It goes beyond words. I mean, there is no way to describe it. What the country is doing against all odds. The question is, can they sustain it? And this is where we don't know. We can only hope, because this is the only thing that is left coming out of the FAC that I'm going in an hour or so. And hope is not a very good strategy. So probably we'll have questions as to how to change it, how to get this really from tactical, administrative into really existential, strategic, geostrategic discussion. I wish I knew. And the only thing that rings in my mind is what I call the Pearl Harbor effect. That we still have not been shocked into action. Because words are not enough. The trauma of Ukrainians, unfortunately, is not enough. That we're getting used to it. And unfortunately, that history tells us that usually, well, one way or another, we will be shocked into action. It could be very late. It could be extremely expensive. It could be extremely expensive on the livelihoods of our people and European societies. So let's hope for the best, but prepare for something that's a bit less than the best. Thank you.